Failure is fabulous. Hear me out. If you don't fail, you'll never know. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas and they never execute because they're afraid of failure. Let me tell you a little story. When I started my business, I had been encouraged to start a business since I was in my teens. But I didn't know what to do, where to start, nothing. I said to the person, I said, just give me some time, let me figure out what I want to do, because at the time I was in beauty college and I was learning, but I didn't have any idea about what type of business I would start, so on and so forth. And the person that was encouraging me, they were like, oh, just do something, make like a little cleanser so we could start selling it. And I said, but I'm not there yet. I'm not through the course yet. And at that time, the internet is not what it is today. And the YouTube was nowhere near what it is today. So there was really no resource for that sort of thing. But I was in college for it. So I was selling them. I was pleading with them, like, just give me some time and, I'll catch up. Anyway, about, I would say, so when they were encouraging me, I think it was about 18, 19. I started my own business at 20 something. Maybe 22, 21, 22, maybe. Round about there. So just a few years later. And when I had a good idea, okay, this one I'm going to do, so on and so forth. I remember going back to that person and saying to them, okay, that's it. I've trained. I'm qualified. I understand what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. At that time now, they were really cold on it. They were like, okay. So their gusto had gone, And I remember when I actually started my business, I incorporated it and everything because I wanted to make sure that I gave myself 0 outs. I remember them talking to my brother and they were saying, and this was multiple people actually. They were like, I don't know what she's going to start business for. She needs to just go get a job. I don't know what's the point. She says she's starting business. It's only going to fail. And that was the prevailing sentiment from quite a few people related to me. And I remember when my brother came back and he was like, why are they talking about you like this? I was like, I don't get it, because they were encouraging me in the beginning to start the business. But I guess because I didn't do it on their time, it was persona non grata. So anyway, I cussed them out. I enjoyed that. I told them off, but I still struggled. I still pushed forward for many years. I had an idea, but I didn't know how to market. And a lot of people will say word of mouth, but it's not quite that simple. Word of mouth in certain types of people works really, really well. Like, for example, I know that the people that I deal with, like if I say to my people that I am in close contact with, be it my friends, my clients and things like that, because of the quality of people that they are, if I say to them, okay, this is what you need, that is what you need, they will buy right away. But I used to get people saying to me like, oh, I told this person about you, I told that person about you, and nothing was happening. And I was like, what kind of people is this y'all talking to? Because ain't nobody But it took a very, 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 very long time for me to figure out different aspects of business and all these things. And I have failed so many times. I have failed in so many ways. I am going to fail again in a lot of things, because you try things, they don't work, you hit a dead end, you have to stop, you have to start over. In my business, there are a few things that work well, but they might take a lot of capital to get started or to get the result. So it's a lot of sacrifice. But it wasn't until I started failing that I started learning. Because, for example, people would say to me, people that are close to me, related, they would say, oh, for example, you don't need an accountant, you could do this by yourself. They would say, oh, you don't need a mentor, you could do it by yourself. And that's the advice they were giving me for years. And when you're young and you think you're invincible, you're going through your invincible years. I thought it was a good challenge to try and do all these things by myself. But then I hit a bottleneck where nothing was working because everything was just dependent on me. And I still struggle with that to this day, actually. But with systems and things like that, it's getting easier. But the idea that you could do absolutely everything by yourself and you don't need no help, that was a huge failure for me, because I didn't understand why things weren't moving forward until I realized I only had so much energy. I can't dedicate my energy to doing absolutely everything, So that was a big failure for me. That cost me a lot. Then when I started doing shows, that was really exciting. But then I made the mistake of not properly vetting shows. I made the mistake of taking shows under the advisement of others, not based on the type of show and the niche of the show and will the show work for me. I was just blindly going along with the shows for quite some time because this person was like, it's going to be a good show. But what I didn't realize was that my goal for my products is to have a thriving business. My goal is not to have an expensive hobby. That's not the goal for me, right? But that was the, other people's goals. So they weren't grading these shows on the same metric that I was. So I made that mistake and I failed in that arena because I didn't vet the shows for myself. And again, that came back down to doing everything myself, to where I didn't even feel like I had the capacity to give it a good once over. It was a friend of mine who broke that chain for me when she did the once over, and she was like, excuse me, why are you doing this show? I was like, huh? Then I was like, oh, this paradigm isn't working for me, and I should not be outsourcing the selection of shows. I should really be more intentional about which shows I do, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I'll do it with you. So that was a big failure for me. Then once I started doing shows on my own, I quickly began to realize that there was some systematic things that were failures. I was not giving enough lead time to prepare for shows. So when I was doing like shared shows with other people, my inventory was smaller, right? Because you're sharing like half a table or a third of a booth or a stall or whatever. So your inventory is lower. But when you take on doing a stall by yourself, even if it's a small stall, it's just you. So you have to fill up that space. And where the failure came in for me was that I was used to only needing like 2 weeks to prep for a show. And then when I started doing shows by myself, I recognized I needed like a month. And then when I started doing larger shows, I needed 2 months to prep because I needed more inventory. If something was gonna take too long to come, I ended up paying more for them to come because the lead time was so short. So I didn't give enough time for the items to arrive. So now for me to do a show, definitely 2 months, comfortably 2 months to get everything in order, quantities, packaging, everything, to get everything in order. 2 months, because I source my materials from China. My packaging, the bottles and things like that, is more economical coming from China, but it'll take about 30 days. If you want it to take less, you have to pay for that, and it can be 3 times as much as what you would pay. So that was a very steep lesson when I was ordering stuff from like Amazon, because I was like, oh my God, I gotta show in 2 weeks. And it was costing me, instead of say £100, it was costing me $250. So automatically now it's eaten into the profit and you haven't made a dime yet. So that taught me very good. As time goes on, as we extend more, we need more time. Now, the 2 months lead time, that can actually cover 2 shows. So if I do, say, a show in April and a show in May, the prep for the show in April more than likely can cover the show in May. I'll just need to top up a few items, but it's really good practice to not do it small all the time. Just do it in a big chunk, like the pipette bottles. Get like 1,000, Don't do it small. After a certain time, it costs you to do it small. It's more expensive to do it smaller than it is to do bigger. So that was a big failure. That was a great failure. It was a great lesson that I learned. All the people that you're scared of, that you're afraid they have something to say about you. Let me tell you something. I have heard some people say some things about me. Like, I've heard it with my own ears. People that I've done nothing to. And I've heard them say some things about me. And I'm just there like, no, how am I in this? But the thing that always cleanses my palate about experiences like that is when I step back and I look at them and I look at their life, I go, how much weight does your opinion hold, really? Do I want to be where you are? The answer usually is no and no. This is why they say you will never be criticized by somebody doing better than you. Because usually the person that's doing better than you, they're not going to critique you, What they're going to try and do is to give you some scaffolding, right? Some support mechanisms. They're going to try and be like, okay, I think this way you need to go. I think this, which does not come across as critique ever. It comes across as aid. It comes across as help. It comes across as concern. It comes across as expertise. So if you don't want to do the thing because you're afraid people are going to criticize you, the people that are going to criticize you are not doing your thing. In fact, I bet if you look at them, you don't even want to be in their position. So therefore, why does it matter? You should fail a lot. You should fail fast. You should try everything and keep failing, because failing will teach you more than spectatorship ever will. Failing will have you in the game. Failing will make your skin crawl. It will give you goosebumps, it give you pimples, but failing also gives you courage. Failing makes you better. When you actually do something and you fail, you actually go, okay, I know for a fact that does not work for me. So even if you bring somebody else in and they say to you, I think this, I think that, you can absolutely go, no, that doesn't work for me because I did try it. Here's how I did it and it didn't work. Failing gives you confidence. It is not the winning that gives you confidence. It is the winning after the failing that gives you confidence, because you know what works. So fail forward, fail fast, fail hard, keep trying. Something has to give. You don't want to be the person on the sidelines having an opinion about what everybody else is doing, because you're not actually learning anything, you're not achieving anything, you're not making yourself proud. There's pride in failure. Pride in failure. Because then you really feel like this lesson was hard won. I earned this. Failing is excellent. So go forth, fail, and then prosper.